This mistake hurts a lot of accounts, and we need to talk about it. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock, and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So, today we are going to talk about Faction Guardians. Now, this is going to be obvious to a lot of you, but there is a large group of players out there who maybe don't really grasp how important Faction Guardians is in Raid Shadow Legends. I see it all the time when I do account takeovers, and even I have fallen for some of these traps on occasion. So if we look at my roster, the big one is the +1 Mikage. I could have used 2 Mikages, right? That would have been very, very good for the development of my account. You know, there's no reason for me to have gotten that. And then another area of the game, or another champion that you can see the +1 Stultus here. That one was probably, could have been better utilized. I probably didn't need to +1 by Stultus. And if we go ahead and take a look here at Empower Champions. Listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril, as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. I used a Stultus at some point to +1 my Stultus, and that was a big mistake, and it's a mistake that a lot of players make. As you can see, clearly I've made it. I know other players who have made that mistake. And why is it a mistake, right? We can all talk ourselves into these decisions. For me, I talked myself into Stultus because at the time I was like, well, I didn't have any other legendaries in Bannerlords. And I was like, I'm never going to get any of these legendaries anyway. So I'm just going to make my Stultus better because that's going to make me better. But the reality is, when it comes to Faction Guardians, these stats are irreplaceable. And what I mean by that is 10 speed is a big deal. It doesn't sound like much, but it is a big deal. 10 free speed, completely free. Okay, not completely free. Sorry, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like you don't need a quad roll to get that extra 10 speed. You can get by with a triple roll, and this 10 speed can make up for it. That's kind of what I'm trying to say, right? It's a big deal to get that speed, but even all the little stats in between are just flat out improvement. I have a much easier time building champions in my Demon Spawn faction, for example, because I have far more stats to play around with than a faction like my Dark Elves, where I don't have any duplicates of legendaries in the Dark Elves, which sucks, right? Because some of my best champions are in there. I would love to have more accuracy and resistance on my Lydia and my Mithrala. I'd love to have more HP on my Mithrala. I'd love to have more attack on my Night Elves, my Dark Elves, that I can't think of right now. I don't really use anybody for damage in this faction, to be currently, anyways, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, it is a big deal to do your Faction Guardians. And one of the things I see players do all the time is they +1 their champions instead of building up their Faction Guardians first, because, like I said, these stats really, really make a difference, and they really, really matter. And so right now, we can see the perfect example of the mistake that I made, right? So I +1'd my Stultus. I could also have plus 10% defense across the entire faction right now, but at some point, newbie Roadblock +1 Stultus, and now I would have 4 Stultuses right this moment. And so that was one of those mistakes, and I no longer replicate that mistake. I keep 3 copies of champions, you know, Death Knight, Death Knight, Death Knight. Just want to go back and verify that I'm not crazy, that I did have 3. Yeah, Stultus, 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 right? So, because you may get that 4th champion, and another faction that is really representative of it. It doesn't show here because I have since pulled other champions to fill it out, but you can see at some point this entire thing was full of Calvalaxes and Theodores. Granted, I eventually pulled other champions and was able to then +3 and +2 my Calvalax and my Theodore, right? I waited to do that after I was able to fill out the Guardian. And even still, if I was to get more, if I was to get like more of the Statue of Liberty chick or Eric's, I would then try to take them out of here to even do more, you know, a +4 Calvalax. I don't know that I would go. I actually run 3 Theodores on this account for certain stuff. So, but it goes beyond the legendaries. I'm focusing on the legendaries because that's the hardest ones to get. But something I see a lot is people ignoring the rare and the epic levels, especially in the early game. That is a massive, massive advantage for you. Let's just take a look, and I don't know how I'll move myself up here just for this one. When it comes to rare, and why am I focusing on Dark Elves? Well, guess who's a Dark Elf? Kale, right? Now, not everyone starts with Kale. I tend to start with Kale. I like Kale quite a bit as a starter champion. If you see me start a new account, I'm almost always going with Kale. But think about that for a second. Think about getting that 10% extra HP or attack in early game Raid Shadow Legends. That is so valuable for progressing your account. Maybe you fill this up with a bunch of spirit hosts or something along those lines to get your Kale to be the strongest Kale that he can be to push your content further. Likewise for epics. In fact, I think one of the best ones, and I'll go ahead and move myself back down now, is going to be Sacred Order, right? Because if we look at the Sacred Order roster, they have some of the best epics in the game. You've got Godseeker and Neri, you've got Fenax, you've got Mordecai, you've got Inquisitors. So all of these, and Deacon, right? All of these are very, 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 very strong epics. And when you think about it from the Faction Guardian's perspective and say, well, I know that Deacon is really good, but what happens if I give Deacon 6 extra speed and 15 extra accuracy, right? Like that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a huge, huge difference, let alone extra HP, 10% extra attack for your Fenax, for your Inquisitor Shamael. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and I see people ignore their Faction Guardians so much. Another reason why I think filling out your Faction Guardians should be a primary focus is because it can also screw you up. And this is a part that maybe doesn't get touched on enough, but I have built and tried to build enough unkillable teams in this game to understand that if you build your unkillable team before you fill out that faction, it sucks. Demitha is a dwarf. I built a Myth-Fu team, and at the time, I could not fill out the epic dwarf guardians. Then one day I did, and oh, my clan boss team doesn't work anymore because I gained 6 extra speed. So you really want to make sure that you're in a position where that speed matters before you build the very finely speed-tuned teams to beat certain areas of the game, right? But that's also how much 6 speed can matter, is it can completely throw off a speed tune. So yeah, I see it all the time, and I just wanted to touch on it, quite frankly, because I didn't have anything else I could talk about today. This is like my 3rd attempt at a video today, and I haven't done that since long before I started working with Game Leap. So it's been a while since I couldn't wrap my head around a video, but this is what I landed on today. I really wanted to talk about the Faction Guardians. My original video was about people not pushing their accounts, but I feel like it was a repetitive video, so I chose not to make it. And because they took so long to record, I now can no longer keep my eyes open. So I'm simply going to ask you guys that if you enjoyed today's video where we talked about prioritizing Faction Guardians, please consider subscribing. I can't even pronounce the word right now because I'm so tired. Please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support my channel, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care.